Welcome to American Advocates. Just wanted to go over what occurred today, mainly being, of course, the news centered around the 2026 government shutdown, as well as, of course, the SAVE Act, which will very likely one of be one of the most consequential acts that this Trump administration will push forward, hopefully, because our election integrity is at stake. And there's a lot of news centered around that today. So I'm going to cover all of that, starting with the government shutdown officially coming to an end as of today. Government will be reopened officially tomorrow. President Donald Trump signing the House spending bill, a bill that will fund government through the end of the year, upwards, I believe, of $1.7 trillion or something of the sort, an expensive amount, of course. But it's basically going to be funding virtually everything within our government now. Speaker Mike Johnson, of course, was able to rally the Republicans together as promised, but all with some Democrats actually coming through, if I remember seeing the final vote correctly. So the final vote being 217 to 214, with 196 Republicans voting in favor of this House government spending bill, and 21 Democrats actually coming together with Republicans in the GOP to also agree to vote yes in favor of the government spending bill being approved. Now, along with the 21 Democrats voting in favor of this government spending bill to help the Republicans pass this, 21 Republicans also actually voted no and dissented from their party. Some big names that won't shock anybody, of course. I wrote them down, a few noteworthy ones. Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, Chip Roy, and Anna Paulina Luna amongst the biggest names in that list of people voting no on the Republican side of the aisle when it came to the government spending bill. And I'll be honest with you, I can't blame them. I'm going to dive into why I don't blame them and why they were actually correct, in my opinion, to vote no on this bill. Many of the 21 Republicans' no votes was centered around the fact that, centered around the topic of what I've been discussing here on this stream and here on this channel when it comes to the Republicans and how they are essentially senselessly negotiating with Democrats when they have the majority control right now in politics, controlling the Congress, controlling the Senate. Everything. It's all Republican right now. The executive, legislative, it's all under Republican control. Yet for some reason, Republicans felt the need to negotiate with Democrats on this government spending bill and cater to their whims, outright surrendering when it came to Chuck Schumer's demands. That, of course, being that DHS ICE funding be pulled from this bill before the Democrats vote yes in favor of it, as well as the SAVE Act also being stripped out of the bill for a later date. Republicans, for whatever reason, decided we need to capitulate to the minority party Democrats right now, and we want to get this bill passed cleanly without having to nuke the filibuster. A pussy move that's very typical of Republicans, and so that's why you had Thomas Massie, Anna Paulina Luna, Lauren Boebert, Chip Roy, all dissenting with their party and voting no. It's bullshit. They're calling it bullshit. They're acknowledging it's bullshit, and they voted no to make the statement publicly that this is bullshit. And it is. It is truthfully bullshit. The Republicans cannot wield power for shit. They don't know what to do with it when they have it. And it's just this weak-willed, spineless, typical Republican Party that we've all been familiar with for pretty much our entire lives on full display here. Nevertheless, Trump signing the finalized bill, the vote 217 to 214, moving up to the executive for Trump to sign. Government will reopen tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is, we shouldn't have had to make any single compromise at all as the conservative party. There shouldn't have been a single compromise being made, and two of them at least were made. It's utterly ridiculous at this point. I see some views are starting to come in. Please, if you're a regular viewer at this point, be sure to like the stream. It truly helps the stream perform well in the YouTube algorithm, which of course despises channels like mine that are America first and Christian nationalist and loves Jesus and God and conservatism. So if you're a longtime loyal viewer at this point, please like the stream and feel free to chat down below. Now, I wanted to cover something here when it comes to the DHS ICE funding that was stripped out of this bill and what it really entails. Because the fact of the matter is, ICE is going to be funded regardless. This is, of course, because the Big Beautiful Bill did pass last year, and in the Big Beautiful Bill, ICE was granted $75 billion to be spaced out for its funding throughout the next several years through the year 2029. So ICE is going nowhere. ICE is still funded. But what the Democrats leveraged the Republicans for right now when it came to the negotiations that the Republicans didn't need to capitulate to but felt the need to anyway was pulling out this latest DHS ICE funding, which would have additionally add another $10 billion to ICE in order to increase their funding through this year, 2026, which of course is much needed. Deportations are not happening at a quick enough pace in this country. With the amount of illegal immigrants that were welcomed into our country under the Biden regime mostly, that number being, of course, it's added up to very likely 22 million illegal immigrants. Conservative numbers, of course, say more likely 10 to 12 million, but I'm not buying that. I think it's 22, maybe even 24 million illegal immigrants. Deportations need to be ramped up. ICE needs to be funded even more. We need dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, in all honesty, more ICE agents out there in full force. And I'm already at a point now with this administration where I have serious doubts about their seriousness when it comes to mass deportations. And I've spoken on that at length in prior American Advocates episodes here on this channel, which is why you should subscribe right now to American Advocates and turn on post notifications if you haven't already. But there's a lot of indicators in this Trump administration currently suggesting to me that this administration is easing off the pedal in this midterm election year when it comes to immigration. The worst of the worst, they're calling it. And that's kind of their excuse, it seems to me, for them to not deport everybody, to allow the farmers, in the words of Trump himself, the farmers need their workers, the hotel industry and the service industry needs the immigrants in this country to clean our toilets, since Americans won't do that job, apparently. And so that's where we're at with that regardless. But that was the deal with the DHS ICE funding that was stripped out of this government spending bill that was just signed today by President Trump. The Democrats wanted that pulled out because they don't, under any circumstances, want mass deportations. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, especially when it comes to when I'm covering this SAVE Act and why Leader Chuck Schumer is so against the SAVE Act and why Democrats are so against the SAVE Act. Fuck ICE, says the bench warmer pod. Well, fuck you, and go sit back down on the bench where you belong. And if you're an immigrant and you're in this country illegally, I hope you get deported. Now, where I was at with this, the other thing that's at play here, when it comes to this DHS ICE funding bill. Without the $10 billion, we're now not going to be able to hire as many ICE agents. And what the Democrats are pushing for, they're basically holding that funding at ransom. And what they really want is for major reforms. The Republicans, of course, have already capitulated on this as well, agreeing already to the terms of body cameras, for instance, which, to be honest with you, I'm in favor of. But in typical Republican fashion, they just gave in right away without using that as leverage. The Republicans should have held that over the Democrats' heads for negotiating purposes when it comes to re-including the DHS ICE funding bill and getting it approved, if they were going to back down to begin with. The ultimate play that the Republicans should have been making here, of course, is that they should have just nuked the filibuster and said, fuck you, Democrats, you fucking scum, we're passing this without any of your approval. ICE will flood the streets. Illegal immigrants will be deported out of this country, and we will clean up this nation and return it to the hands of the Americans. That's, of course, if Republicans had any balls at all, which they don't. So, taking that into account and going down the path of they're going to negotiate because all of their balls have been snipped off, including people like Mike Johnson, they should have at least held the body cam stipulation up for negotiation. But they just gave in right away. They said, hey, no problem, Democrats. We'll pull the DHS ICE funding bill out of this government spending bill so that you can agree to sign it, which, by the way, only 21 Democrats wound up actually agreeing and voting yes in favor of this. So there's that to begin with. It didn't even work that well, just good enough to get it to President Trump, and that's about it. But on top of it, they just gave in to the terms ahead of time. Sure, we'll throw body cameras on them. Sure, Democrats, sure. And I've said this before. The big problem here is the fact it's the simple fact that the Republicans, old school Republicans, negotiate with Democrats from the standpoint that Democrats have some sort of moral high ground. That, of course, being the party that advocates for women to go out and be absolute fucking sluts and open their legs for any dick out there and then just kill their children when they're not satisfied with the predictable results of doing so. This is the party that, for some reason, old school Republicans view as the party that has the moral high ground. We shouldn't. We should be looking at Democrats for what they actually are, which is the worst of the worst, enemy from within, in most cases, scum. That's how I view liberals in my personal life. They're scum. They are literally scum. They are the most amoral, disgusting people you will ever hope to come across. But somehow, Republicans who are politicians get into these positions of power and they yield to the liberals because of the narrative. And by the way, even that narrative now is dying. Mainstream media controlled that narrative for decades. That's dying now. That's dying as we see the rise of independent journalists, as we see the rise of free speech platforms like Rumble and X, as we see the rise of even independent journalists here on YouTube or on Instagram and Facebook. Nick Shirley, Cam Higbee, Nick Sortor. So all of it is truthfully escaping their grasp, yet the old school boomer conservatives and Gen X conservatives out there who don't have any balls and yield to Democrats as the morally superiors out there for no reason, negotiate in such a way that they give in for stuff. They give in over stuff like this. If it were up to me, fuck them. You want body cams? Well, I secretly agree with ICE having body cameras on them. I don't see a problem with that. I'm still just going to, if we have to go the negotiation route, I'm still going to hold that over their head for negotiating purposes. But the Republicans currently are so weak and spineless that they won't do that. They won't embrace such tactics. They don't play to win. They play so that they can lose easily. And it's so beyond frustrating. And so there's that. They, of course, want ICE agents to unmask, despite the fact that literally just 4 years ago, of course, I hate to say it, but I actually love to say it at the same time, because once again, liberals are scum. Liberals were the ones pushing for masks on everybody. I didn't know what any motherfucker's face looked like 4 years ago, as a bunch of paranoid sheep flocked around our towns wearing face diapers on their faces, sometimes two of them, like good little boys and good little girls. I'm sure many of you in the chat did that because you're very, very, very good boy Democrats and good girl Democrats out there that always love government overreach and yield to your government, especially when it's Democrat politicians telling you to do so. That's what Democrats were pushing for. Now, however, when it's law enforcement doing it to protect their identity and the safety of their families, now it's a problem. And it's all a problem because the Democrats love illegal immigrants. They love open borders. They want this nation flooded with as many of them as possible for the upcoming 2030 census count, which of course is counted irregardless of the status of citizenship in the counties and states. That's really what it's all about, and it is about replacing Americans who look like me and look like you even. And that's what this all comes down to. And that's why we're seeing the Democrats go so hard against ICE, Border Patrol, and of course, the SAVE Act, which I'm going to be discussing in just a few minutes here, because that's also up for talks right now. A lot of breaking news on that. So, but first, be sure to like the stream right now if you agree with what I'm saying. Also, be sure to subscribe to American Advocates and turn on post notifications when you do, so you always get notified when I go live. I'm going to take a look at a few chats centered around the government shutdown here and what I just discussed when it comes to Republicans, Democrats, Chuck Schumer, etc. 10 years now of Trump. Name one policy that he has done. That's a tough one. It's more or less him just kind of like floating by. I'm very dissatisfied with Trump overall. Now, of course, you know, there's the big beautiful bill, which was full of stuff. We're now gonna see that go into effect this year. So there's legislation that he's gotten through at this point in time, and there are some policies. Like, I loved his stance, of course, overall on transgenderism, no men in women's sports. But a part of me actually loves watching men go into women's sports because I like watching liberals get what they voted for. And it's always the stupid white fucking liberal women out there that think men belong in women's sports because of their suicidal empathy. So I'll turn on a video, I'll go on YouTube, and I'll see a giant man bulldozing through women and injuring them and breaking their faces. And I kind of just chuckle and I go, good. Good. That's what women voted for, after all. They believe in that shit, so let them have it. But on principle, it is wrong. And so Trump's gotten some stuff done. I won't criticize him entirely, but as far as policies go, you almost got me there. I'm not one to claim that I'm satisfied with Trump ever, though. I did not even vote for him in his first term. And I only voted for him this time because the alternative was much worse. And I really voted for him because he's a lame duck, and so the pressure should not be there for him to just do whatever he wants. Of course, that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like he's been bought by foreign interest and other lobbies, and it seems like he is around, again, just like in his first term, all the wrong people who are in his ear and guiding him in every wrong direction possible. Jesus is king, says Stella Gibbs. Amen. Christ is Lord. Not one of your topics can hold any pushback. Okay, well, I don't hear you giving any pushback, you brain-rotted fuck, meat brains, so thanks for your comment, but... Uh-oh, if you hate the Constitution, you can leave. I love the Constitution. Let me scroll up to the top here. Black opportunity zones during his first term, federally funded HBCU for the first time, but that's nothing. I don't really care about black opportunity zones, as you can probably tell. Democrats have small dicks, says Mike Palermo, 6568. Something has to explain their energy, their disturbing energy, right? It's got to be something. He's done more than what you all think and know. Look into it. If you hate America, you can leave, says Dribble989. Amen. This is for American advocates who love this country. By far, this channel is for American advocates, American nationalists. We are the best country in the world, and it's not even close. We are the best people in the world, and it's not even close. We're so fucking superior to the rest of the world. It's literally, we deserve the best. America deserves to be put first. There's just none that can compare to us. And even at our worst right now, I wouldn't want to live in Europe where everyone's gay and retarded and everyone's voting for stupid shit. They're super, super dependent on us. I wouldn't want to live in the UK where they're being overrun by foreign invaders to the max. That at least has been put on pause under Trump. The border is shut down. You know, I wouldn't want to live in Russia. I wouldn't want to live in China. So this channel is for American advocates because it truly is not even close. Be sure to like this stream, like I said. Get the likes up. It helps the stream perform well in the algorithm. All right, let me scroll up here. Can we debate, bro? Says the bench warmer. No, I'm not interested in debates. This is not a debate channel. This is a channel where I speak what's on my mind. I speak about what's right, and I walk the narrow path. Maybe later on, once I've grown in size more, I'll start entertaining debates. But no, I'm not interested in debating. This is a channel where I preach and you listen. And if you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. You're a poor representative for the U.S. Oh, no. Jimmy Shinkushi. What a name. I don't disagree with some of your statements, but words have meanings, and oh no, but words have meanings, and some of the things you're saying isn't accurate. We aren't superior to any other nation. Yeah, the fuck we are. We're fucking America. We're the world's hyperpower. It's not even close. We are superior. There's no country that can stand up to us, okay? So stop tone policing, okay? If I wanted to be tone policed, I'd get married to an annoying bitch woman who wouldn't make any sandwiches for me ever and would only ever henpeck me about the things I say. There's a reason I don't get married. There's a reason why I go on dates with women and I literally am thinking to myself, shut the fuck up. It's because I don't want to be henpecked. I don't like that kind of worldview. I say what's on my mind. I speak what I mean. I say what I mean, and that's the end of it. So, yeah, words have meanings, and I mean everything I fucking say. I love it, bro, says Undiscovered Pepper. Thanks, man. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've been going live for almost 2 weeks now on this channel. It's by far the most fun thing I've ever done. Your thoughts on the Klan, sir? The Klan is gross. America is not just for white people, and white people are not supreme. America is for Americans. That's what this channel advocates for. America is not for foreign invaders. It's not for illegal immigrants. It's for Americans. And an American is someone who was born here legally to parents who immigrated here legally or parents who were also born here legally. That's what an American is. I can tell, oh, see, look at, just, that's perfect. I can tell you were taught racism as a child. This guy doesn't know shit about the Constitution. I know all about that Second Amendment, though, bitch. And the first one. And you know what else I know about Benchwarmer? I know a lot about the fifth one. That's one that you seem to be lacking in. You should practice that in my chat. I'm losing. There's so many chats. Democrats are still mad DEI Harris didn't win. I know. They still like jerk off to her on their knees like good little boys and girls. That's like they're just like, my God, Kamala Harris was so right about everything. Just imagine the state of the world and how peaceful things would be right now if Kamala Harris won. Yeah, globalism would be here. China would be like encroaching on us even more. Venezuela would have never happened. Greenland wouldn't have happened. The Monroe Doctrine wouldn't have been reinstated. You know, she would have made some sort of threat against Iran. They would have never taken it seriously. At least, actually, I can say if Kamala was president, the Iran stuff wouldn't be happening. And that would be great news because I fucking hate what we're about to be doing in Iran. So, but yeah, no, definitely. Okay, I want to move on to the SAVE Act here. That was the other part of this stream and what I had lined up because it tied in with the government shutdown, of course, and how the Democrats seem to leverage the power that they really shouldn't have against the Republicans in order to negotiate on grounds that they shouldn't be standing on. Pulling out the DHS ICE funding bill, just covered that at length. ICE is still funded because of the big, beautiful bill, but now it's going to be $10 billion less until Republicans can renegotiate new terms with the Democrats over ICE operations. But when it comes to the SAVE Act, this is probably going to be one of the most consequential acts this Trump administration pushes through, and they need to push it through, and they need to do it within the next couple of months. And that's because the SAVE Act, of course, is all about election integrity. Now, this SAVE Act has been in like Senate limbo for over 300 days, according to hardcore far-right Republican senators, and they're aggravated at this. According to them, Senator John Thune Leader John Thune, I should say, has been deliberately almost ignoring this, it seems. Now, he's, of course, promised, especially after the Democrats successfully negotiated on stripping away this act from the main government spending bill, he's promised that a vote on the SAVE Act will come soon enough, according to him. And it's like, it can't come soon enough. It should have already happened. It should have happened last year. But here we are in 2026, a midterm election year, and the SAVE Act still hasn't been addressed by the Senate properly. So that's where we're at with that. And I even have here Chuck Schumer. That's what I wanted to really cover when it comes to this. Chuck Schumer. This is the guy who, by the way, is currently the most powerful Democrat in the nation, which is, of course, embarrassing for Democrats. And the Democrats really don't have any real power right now, and that's why I'm so frustrated with Republicans for negotiating with them. But Chuck Schumer, of course, has been very outspoken against the SAVE Act, especially very recently. And he's very shameless about it, because what is February? And by the way, I had to be reminded of this because I just don't care about this month at all, obviously. But February is Black History Month. And so February, being Black History Month, Chuck Schumer has now decided to do what Democrats always do and adopt the racial gaslighting narratives, the victimizing narratives, the fear-mongering narratives. And so he is now comparing this SAVE Act, if it gets passed, to Jim Crow laws. That's what Chuck Schumer is comparing this to. It is so very, very hilarious, in all honesty. For anybody who knows what the SAVE Act is, it's honestly hilarious. And so Chuck Schumer's out there with February. We're now 3 days into February, 3 days into Black History Month. And Chuck Schumer's saying, if we pass this SAVE Act, it will be devastating for minorities. It'll be the Jim Crow laws 2.0. By the way, the SAVE Act literally is just us asking for, election integrity. We just want proper ID. We want proper photo identification for people who are about to vote for the future fucking leaders of this nation. It's really not a tough ask. We have to show our IDs for so much in this society as it is. Before you get on a plane, when you purchase alcohol, when you purchase medications of some sort, so this is not a big ask at all. It's a proper ask. And the fact of the matter is, the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party is on full display, as well as their corrupt, disgusting agenda to replace you as an American. It's open for everybody to see with Chuck Schumer's words and actions, because I have right here poll results that I've tallied together. I've done research on multiple polls. There is no such thing that I've been able to identify. There's been no such poll out there out of these several that have been conducted on this topic that show that election integrity and photo ID for voting is unpopular with Americans. Every single poll I looked at demonstrates that it is incredibly popular with Americans. Starting with the minorities here, I have the data on that because, again, Chuck Schumer is comparing the SAVE Act and voter reform and voter ID to Jim Crow laws. Well, the minorities themselves, Chuck Schumer is pretending to represent, disagrees with him. First and foremost, black people approve of voter ID. They approve of photo ID before voting and for voting registration by 76%, a vast majority. Thank you, my friend, says Brian Beck with 493. Appreciate it. Thank you, man. Now, Latinos, even higher. Latinos approve of this by 82%. So Chuck Schumer's narrative can go fuck right off, right out the window that it came in from. And that window needs to be closed and locked. We all need to see this for what it is. By the way, white people, of course, approve it by the highest at 85%. But the fact remains that all of the minorities that I looked at, all of the most prominent ones, black people and Latinos, approve of it by a vast, vast majority. Also, when it comes to the partisan element in here, when it comes to conservatives and Democrats, a real Pew Research poll shows that 95% of conservatives, not surprising, approve of this. But what is surprising, perhaps, to some people is that 71% of Democrats also approve of photo ID before voting. And for voting. It's already necessary in a lot of states for voting registration, but a lot of states, 14 of them, do not require it for voting. And so it's overwhelmingly positive. That, of course, was a CNN poll. So you can't even cite it and say, well, it's your Fox News bullshit poll. It's CNN reporting on that poll, not Fox News. And so if you're a Democrat in my chat right now, for instance, and you're saying, this is so racist, man, I'm so over this country. Like, it is so bullshit that we're doing this to illegal immigrants. They should be able to come in here and have a say in our nation, man. I mean, we really stole this land. Guess what, bitch? You're a fucking minority and you're scum. That's the bottom line here, and all of the polls out there back it up. You're the minority, and you're not the good minority. You're the minority that thinks that people should be able to vote without voter ID, and you're fucking stupid. That's the bottom line here. So if you're in the chat right now and you've exposed yourself as someone who's speaking out against voter ID, I kind of want to see that just so I can laugh at you. And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take a look at some chats. Here we go. We got a winner. VJ Scott P. Smith. No, we should not have to show ID to vote. To register, yes. To vote, no. I support vote by mail. You're a moron. You should go live in a third world country where a dictator would appreciate that kind of logic. You would be one of their favorites. Chaos for you. Lots of lefties on that lost. God, what a pussy. ID voting only, says Donald Hall. Amen. You internet mofos are so sad. People are walking by seeing this nut scream at his phone alone. How he always is in IRL. I scream at everybody. MS Speaks. I scream at this is how I talk to everybody. I literally talk like this when I'm ordering at a drive-thru. I talk like this in a grocery store when I'm cashing out to the cashier. I literally talk like this. In fact, I bring up political topics to everybody I come across. Politics is my life. I live for nothing else. I go on rants like this to everybody, even if I've only met them for 5 seconds. I'll purposely buy 200 items at a grocery store just so I can rant to the 19-year-old girl working there and say, hey, we need fucking voter ID in this country, all right? This country's being overrun by psychopathic illegal immigrants, and it's been allowed to be that way because of Democrat scum like Joe Biden. I hope that as you get older and vote that you don't vote for a Democrat. And I'll just go off like that. That's my entire life. I am only about politics and nothing else. I've wrapped my entire personality in politics. MS Speaks. And I speak at tone all of the time. Even at midnight when I have a girl over and I'm done with, we're done with the fun, I'll sit at the edge of the bed and I'll just rant like this. I am just on fire all the time. End of story. Wow, so you're a nut job, says MAGA Destroyer. Yes, I am. I'm a fucking nut job. Dude, calm down. Calm down. You're being a loser, man. Dude, calm down, man. Vote by mail is important. It's only important for military people and citizens that are out of the country. That's it. Otherwise, voting by mail should not be a thing. There should be so few exceptions to that. It shouldn't even be a consequential topic to discuss. Vote by mail should largely be banned, and there should be few exceptions for it. It ultimately leads to complete corruption. Enjoying, says J.R. Gerberwick 897. Appreciate it. So everyone hates you. Is that why you're in your car? LOL. Bah. Yes. Well, I live in my car. I'm homeless. 100%. 100%. If you're going to vote, bring that ID. If you bring that ID, you don't have one, you have no say. I agree. Not only do I agree with voting ID, but also we need way less people voting in this country. There are tons of people. We need voter reform to the max, where we ultimately need to crack down and restrict who can vote. There are far too many idiots that live here legally who are voting. I would like to see far less people with the ability to vote. Maybe we should raise the age of who's eligible to vote. That would be a good start. But we should also largely repeal the 19th Amendment overall. And we need to go back to a more traditional system when it comes to who's allowed to vote. It should be landowners. And then on top of it, it should be landowners. But then we need to also fix, of course, marriage laws and divorce laws that allow stupid bimbos to marry these men and then take their houses from them. Because at that point, it's like, okay, well, you're not a woman who owns a house. You stole it from some guy who you took advantage of. So that's bullshit too. So there's a lot of reform that needs to happen in this country. But if we could whittle down the amount of people who actually have a say in our leaders, that would be for the best. It truly would. But yeah. Now, I'm going to move on from the comments. I just wanted to see all of the bozos in the chat, the bozo liberals who literally want no photo ID for voting. You know, every dictator's favorite kind of candidate there, every dictator's favorite citizen. Please go move to like Russia or China. They would fucking love you there. You say, I believe in elections, but they don't need to be fair. I don't believe in election integrity. I don't believe in photo ID. Anybody should be allowed to vote. You'll be any dictator's favorite citizen. Please move out of this country. Hopefully you can't vote as it is. Hopefully you don't vote. Hopefully you're a fat, lazy slob like most liberals are, and you don't even bother to get up and go vote. That's what I truly hope. But it was funny seeing the chats, people self-owning themselves, when literally 71% of Democrats overall approve of photo ID for voting. It's a bipartisan issue, and it has bipartisan support, which leads me into the point that I was going to make when it comes to Chuck Schumer shamelessly citing Jim Crow laws during Black History Month to try to rally up anger in the voter base, and it's not working. As I stated, 76% of black men and black people in general support photo ID for voting. And, you know, this is because the Democrat agenda is all that matters. And you have to understand something. If you're a liberal voter, you know, not only is your IQ stunningly low, not only are you easily gaslit, not only are you full of emotional diarrhea and constipation, and you're just a crybaby all the time, easily angered, hurt by words, but on top of it, you're just a pawn to Democrats. They don't give a shit about you. They care about their agenda. And ultimately, their agenda is to replace even most of you, believe it or not. You're the useful idiot for now that they weaponize and that they use your emotions against us on. And that'll work for them for now, but they need these illegal immigrants in this country, which circles back to the beginning of this episode where I was talking about why they're so anti-immigration reform, so anti-deportation, pro-open borders, anti-ICE. They want as many of the illegal immigrants in this country to remain. And there's been already a few instances where illegal immigrants have managed to participate in our elections, though to the credit of the sources I've looked at, not that many have been reported. But we're seeing all kinds of shady shit happen in this country as it is. And so it's like, you know, we saw the enumeration beyond entry, this topic being discussed. Elon Musk brought this to our attention, where social securities appear to have been given to illegal immigrants, either pre-existing ones from dead people or possibly even new ones. So they've been doing this now for a while, and they've been welcoming these people into our country for this very reason. This is why they're so adamant about this. And they know, Democrats know. Like, it's like, Listen, as big of a problem as I have with the modern day Republican Party, as critical as I am of this Trump administration, if you have any brain at all, if you're a proud American at all, you can easily look at the values that each party is at least supposed to have and make the clear distinction in your head on which one cares about Americans, which one is the right side of the aisle, and which one's wrong, which one's evil, in all honesty. It's not hard. The one literally promotes women killing their children. The one literally, I mean, via abortion, of course. The one literally promotes transgender ideology. It promotes the destruction of families. It promotes feminism. It promotes discrimination, censorship. It's not hard. They stand for nothing when it comes to traditional American values. And so because of this, they're so unpopular now with Americans overall that they are dependent or becoming increasingly dependent on foreign support, which is why they allow all these people into this country under the guise of sanctuary status, the sanctuary cities. They open the borders every chance they get when they're in power. It's because they know that over time they're losing support with young men, they're losing support with people in general, their voter base, and they know that in order for them to secure future election wins, they need to flood this nation with other people from other countries and then give them a bunch of free shit. And then those people will outbreed us because they have kids at a faster pace because, us stupid white people bought into feminism hook, line, and sinker, so now no one's having kids. And that's really what this comes down to. That's really what it is. They are banking on this for the future. They need it for the 2030 census count. And then beyond that, they just need it for future votes. They want illegal immigrants to be able to vote. And to the credit of, like I said, of the sources I looked at and the research I did, not many, it appears, have been able to pull off voting just yet. But now we have states discussing ideas. I believe California was one of them, for instance. One of the 14 states, by the way, that don't ask for photo ID upon voting. States like California, I think it was, or maybe it was Oregon, one of the corrupt West Coast ones, are discussing now issuing photo IDs and state IDs to anybody, basically, including illegal immigrants. And so there needs to be a lot of workarounds in this. There needs to be a lot that goes into this SAVE Act in order to protect our future election integrity. And I also wanted to discuss this, too. Because, people were ragging on Trump for the stop the steal shit. They were ragging on Trump for the, claiming that the election was stolen, for talking about election integrity. People want to insist that Trump bringing this up, the mainstream media narrative is, don't you think it's harmful, Mr. President, to discuss election integrity and fraud? Don't you think that harms the future integrity of our elections? No. It's important to discuss. And it's not even like Trump is the first one to discuss this. He's not out of pocket for doing so. Election integrity has been questioned multiple times throughout our history. I have a very specific case that I wrote down here. 1955, the Chicago mayoral race, Democrat Richard J. Daley narrowly defeated the Republican candidate Robert E. Merriam. And the whole reason that this happened at the time was centered around the Chicago outfit, the Chicago outfit, the mob, the mafia, being dreadfully afraid of Robert E. Merriam, the Republican, because go figure, even back in 1955, Republican candidates were running on things like law and order, anti-corruption, all the stuff that keeps society intact. And Robert E. Merriam was running on cracking down on organized crime, ending the corruption rings, coming after their gambling and their union corruption. And so they knew they needed to do something, and they knew instinctually that a Democrat would allow them to continue the bad behavior. And so election fraud and election rigging is nothing new. What the Chicago outfit wound up doing was they leveraged all of their weight and every connection they had when it came to, I believe, police unions. And even more so, there were reports that came in at that time that there were cemetery votes, ghost voting that occurred. Apparently, some dead mobsters that were long dead had voted Democrat that year. And these are, of course, rumored reports because it was the mafia doing it, and they were sneaky. And the Democrat ultimately wound up winning and very likely being able to help them cover it up. But this has been going on for years, and nothing really has changed. The mafia is not really around in the same capacity anymore, but the Democrats are still the corrupt guys that vote for corruption, participate in corruption, and they're the guys that all of the corrupt ones turn to allow them to continue acting corruptly. So they still want, to this day, to participate in election rigging. They're still for it. That's why they're against the SAVE Act. Hey, Keystone Liberties in the chat. One of my longtime loyal viewers. He says the Chicago outfit needs to take control over Chicago from here on out. I know crime would actually go down right now at this point in time if they did that, wouldn't it? That's the sad thing about the times we're living in. Anyways, yeah, that's what I have written down there, though. The cemetery votes were coming in, and it just couldn't be proven. And that wasn't even fast forward 5 years. The presidential election with JFK. This can't be proven either, but the rumors were out there, and apparently Richard Nixon was bitching behind the scenes about it. And it was over the same stuff. The Chicago outfit, once again, rearing its ugly head when it came to voting in JFK, who they felt would be more lenient on organized crime. Of course, the pressure was being ramped up on organized crime in the late 50s. Organized crime had really started peaking around then, and they were going to start tapering down. And so JFK, you always hear he double-crossed the mob. Well, that can't be proven, and it seems like JFK found a way to piss off everybody. So we don't know ultimately, well, maybe we do now according to the files, but even then, ultimately he pissed off everybody, but you always hear that about JFK, and there might be a grain of truth to it. And Richard Nixon publicly didn't want to disgrace the elections, so he publicly said it was close but fair. But behind closed doors, it was widely reported that Richard Nixon was suspicious of election rigging, particularly in Chicago and Illinois. So this is nothing new. And it's important to actually question the integrity of our elections because it turns out that in a constitutional republic, which is what we are, elections are perhaps the most important thing we have going for us in America. And that's why the SAVE Act is so important. And that's why it's beyond frustrating that John Thune has had to be pressured the way that he has been in order to really get this bill moving. It's been Senate limbo for over 300 days now. That is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. And it's even more inexcusable that Republicans, to come full circle on this whole episode, it's even more inexcusable that Republicans controlling Congress and the Senate and the executive branch right now would dare to negotiate with a minority scum party like the Democrats when the answer should have been as simple as just nuking the filibuster. So all of that is to say the SAVE Act needs to get passed, and it needs to happen soon because we're in the midterm season now, and that election the integrity of that election needs to be ensured. I'll take a look at some chats once again. Rhino Thune, I see already. Muggle Chops, tell me about it. I don't think any Republican who pays attention was happy about John Thune taking that position. There were a lot better options out there. It's just sad that it's just like every time the Republicans actually get a chance, all the wrong people find their way in, which is why, and I'll say this again, I always push on this channel when covering topics like this. I always push for good people to get involved in politics. And it's hard. You can't just typically, as an average American, unfortunately, you can't just run for Congress or the Senate or a governor, for instance, without really being rich. And that's a sad state. That's a sad state America's in. We can blame super PACs for that when it comes to Congress, which shouldn't exist. It's just not grassroots a lot anymore. But you can still start off small, and you should. If you're the kind of American that loves your country, if you're the kind of American that still says the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, if you're the kind of American that finds yourself in church more often than not on Sunday and maybe even on Wednesday for prayer, if you're the kind of American that reads your Bible, that loves your country, that wants to preserve traditional values, you should get involved politically at your local level, on the school board, town council, even running for some sort of a local office. You should do that. And politics is not for everybody. Better to be a fisherman than to meddle in the politics of man. That's a quote that rings true. But if you don't want to hold a type of office and carry that responsibility, you should still get involved and try to support the local people in your town that do. Find good ones that are running and find any way possible to back them. Donate to them, help them campaign, spread the word, etc. That's really where it starts, and that's what we need more of. And then from there, hopefully notoriety is achieved over time, and these smaller level politicians can work their way up so that we don't wind up with people like John Thune, or I hate to say it, Mike Johnson seems like a nice guy, but that guy has no balls, he has no spine, he's weak-willed, and he gets steamrolled all the time. We need strong-willed American men in our politics. Thank you, Danklin. If you're the type of American who doesn't have a job and lives in your car, you are perfect. Of politics is next. Absolutely. And I am both of those. I have no job whatsoever, and I live in my car. I sleep in the trunk. Let me see. Keystone Liberty gets priority. He's one of my most loyal viewers. The Chicago outfit gave the election to Kennedy in 1960 because Joseph Kennedy Sr., made a deal with the Chicago outfit. He made a deal with the leader. As somebody who's running a YouTube channel, I feel it's responsible to say that there's no, according to the research I did at least, there's no actual proven track record of that. Nor would you expect there to be, by the way, because, it's the mafia. But yeah, that's all. It's speculation, but it has a lot of merit to it as well. So, but yeah, that's the history. That's the alleged history there for the JFK election. See you all at the midterms when YouTube pushes more of these baseless takes on live. You bet. It's already happening. Megan Echo San, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership. LOL. Thank you for that, Danklin. You do not go to church, bro. Congressman from California, Republican, is super rich. Muggle chops. Let's hope so. There's a funny thing happening in a lot of these liberal states. A mass exodus is occurring, and some are speculating that some of these blue states might turn red as a result because they're going to wind up with abysmal counts because of it. Everyone's just fleeing the madness of liberal states. It's so disgusting there nowadays in a lot of those states. People are leaving in droves. It's going to fuck with them. It's actually pretty funny if that happens. All right, let me scroll up a bit. Who provides more value to this country? I don't know. I'm not reading your word problems. Okay, take it somewhere else. Mike Johnson is Donald Trump's man. So if you are shitting on Mike Johnson, you are shitting on Donald Trump, and I do both on this channel. Fuck both of them. I'm so dissatisfied with both of them. I don't know who you think you're talking to right now. This is the problem with a lot of idiot liberals. I do both. So if you're in this chat and you think I'm some sort of MAGA cheerleader, you're sorely mistaken, okay? Fuck MAGA. It's a cult of personality. I'm America first, and I'm a social conservative and far right Republican, okay? Trump is nowhere near close enough to what I want. He's not going far enough at all. So fuck them both, especially Mike Johnson. He's a weak-willed pussy. I've done a lot of work for people fleeing blue state. Hey, 2009 lifeguard. Good to see you back, man. I appreciate your comment yesterday. Appreciated your chats as well. I've done a lot of work for people fleeing blue states. Hell yeah, give them some love. Let them see the error of their ways if they voted Democrat. Because my biggest fear, 2009 lifeguard, my biggest fear is, we can't allow these liberal idiots who vote for destruction in their state by voting Democrat to then go into conservative states, which is what they're doing. They leave these states in droves. California to Arizona or Texas, New York to Florida, right? Like, we cannot allow that because then they'll just vote for stupidity in those states and ruin them as well. So they need to see the error of their ways, honestly. Hopefully that happens. It's actually for that reason, on a side note here, it's for that reason that we talk about Canada becoming the 51st state, no thank you. Those are the most brain dead, stupid liberals you could ever ask for. Their country sucks. And if we let them in here in a voting capacity, that would be a disaster for us. If we take Alberta and we don't allow them to participate or become a state, and they can't participate in our elections, that's fine. Then we can take their oil and whatnot. But when it comes to, you got to be careful of that, Expansion is great for an empire, but if you allow the people all of the rights of a state, of a citizen, that's a problem. It's like, we can't do that, We need to Puerto Rico Canada. And then even then, you got to be careful. Democrats have an insidious plan to make Puerto Rico the 51st state, make Washington D.C. a state. They're talking about all kinds of nonsense. So you got to be careful even with territories, but what do we got here? Keystone Liberty, you're an equal opportunity offender. I dig it. I'm not here to please MAGA or Democrats, and I actually get off on offending both of them. So yeah, absolutely, man. I'm not a. Somebody call McDonald's and tell them a Nazi is using their Wi-Fi. Egad, well, thank you for the compliment, but I'm using Burger King's Wi-Fi tonight. Burger King's down. Burger King's down with that regime. McDonald's turns out not to be. 2009 lifeguard. I paint their houses. They usually don't see the error of their ways. No, they don't. They're really stupid. You ever talk to a liberal white woman? It's painful. They're so stupid. Not only that, but then they can't cook on top of it. It's like, you're just so useless. They're eating the bananas. They're eating the rice. They're eating the bananas. They're eating the rice in San Fernando Valley. That's great. Oh, I love that one. Who are you? You're a legend for that. Walter Peters, 9201. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. I don't even care if you disagree with everything I say, Walter Peters. You should come by more often. That's the kind of humor I'm looking for in this brain-dead chat. So many liberal, stupid fuckers in here. If you're a liberal, you're a funny one. And if you're not, that makes even more sense. How will those red states supplement their economies without the blue? How will the red states supplement their economies without the blue states, though? California is the 4th largest economy in the world. Tell me you're a fucking moron without telling me you're a moron. Do you even understand cognitive bias? Elizabeth Doyle, I like turkey, lettuce, mayonnaise, a little bit of cracked pepper sprinkled on the turkey, on each piece of turkey, and I would expect you to do that, by the way. And then on top of it, some sliced onions, fresh and julienne sliced, not diced, okay? Toast the bread, mayonnaise on the bread, pepper jack cheese. If there's no pepper jack cheese, you're in for it. But I will allow Monterey Jack. Okay, Elizabeth, get to fucking work. 2023 stats. State we lost $453 million on illegal immigration. You like Trump? Not really. Sometimes I do. Depends. I like what he did with Venezuela. Ha ha ha. I have a college degree. I'm out. Yeah, go to work, man. You got student loans you'll be paying for the rest of your life for your degree in gender studies. You better go to that third job. They're collecting, bro. 2009 lifeguard. Hell yeah, man. The only two sides are rich versus poor. The rest is just smoking mirrors. No, the two sides are conservative and liberal, and then there's the rich and the poor. Money plays a factor in all of this, but that's not some sort of enlightened statement that you want it to be. If you can't see that our country is in jeopardy right now because of liberals, and you think it's a rich versus poor thing still, I can't really help you here. And I'm doing my best, but I can't really help you here. We can deal with rich versus poor after we deal with annihilating the liberal ideology that's infecting our society. College degree, what do you use that for? Toilet paper? Says Poo Chucker. Exactly. Yeah, if you could, actually, I'm outside. I need to go to the grocery store before it closes. I need to actually buy some toilet paper for the, I live in my trunk, of course, but like I live in my car, but I do use toilet paper still, and I need some. So if you could send that college degree my way, I would appreciate it. Let me scroll up in the chats. You're sad, man. I hope you get the help you need. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to a gender confused person? Dude wipes. Yeah, but hey, listen, I love me a good dude wipe, Corey Mary, but listen, man, beware. They're not actually flushable, okay? One of my business partners actually can confirm this based off of a job that he had in the past. And according to him, the dude wipes, they don't break down. They're falsely advertised, and it can cause a lot of problems. And at his past place of employment, he witnessed it, and I've seen photos. It's disgusting. As nice as dude wipes are, it's a little bit of false advertising. I'm surprised they haven't been sued yet, actually. I won't discuss this is a political channel, but I was a dude wipe enthusiast until I found out they were straight up lying. The pathetic liberals in the chat literally think you live in your car. Corey Mary, 33.99. I'm content to let them believe that, though. That's fine by me. It's funny. I'm good with it. They don't listen. They just have to believe that. It's for the sake of their ego. They can't believe anything else. Like they can't criticize anything. You'll scroll through the chats and it's just like they're all swine, like none of them are contributing anything logical or fruitful in the chat. They're just there to make the jokes, and a lot of the jokes are genuinely funny. So it's just like I just laugh at them. The angrier they get, the better. To be honest with you. I pray you escape the cult. I'm not MAGA. It's easy to believe because you look like you live in your car. That I dress like it. I got the long hobo hair. I got the skull cap on. I got the flannel red coat to keep me warm on the cold, chilly nights where I have to sleep outside under a tree. You know, all those ignoramus fools who said, get a degree, any degree, you need one to succeed in life, should be forced to pay back everyone's student loans, says Edge of the South. Honestly, no. I think you're just gullible if you got a degree. You don't need a degree to make money. It's not hard to make money. You just got to learn how currency works. You got to come to the reality of what money is and its currency, and you have to understand what money is, and you have to understand how to follow money and what to do to make it. And there's a lot of ways to make money without a degree. We're living in an era, especially with AI, where trades are going to come back in full force, and a lot of people are going to be making great money again. And I'm actually looking forward to that day. I'm looking forward to a good times again, where men are doing practical things for work and they're getting paid very well to do it. So, and that's the reality. That's the reality of it. You can find plumbers that are way wealthier than people with 8-year degrees. That's for a reason. College is overexpanded. That was one of my main arguments against Trump arguing for keeping colleges in business, for instance, and discussing about how he wanted to allow double the amount of Chinese foreign students in this country, like an absolute fucking idiot. Let the colleges go out of business. What would happen if we were truly in a free market economy? Colleges would just go out of business and we'd allow it. We wouldn't be bailing them out in the form of allowing Chinese students, some of which, by the way, wind up being spies. That's been proven. But then just allowing them in. I don't want foreign students in this country any more than I want foreign illegal immigrants in here. Let alone do I want colleges staying in business that don't deserve to. And what you would see happen is the second that colleges were struggling, they would economize. And when they economize, they'd be getting rid of the stupid stuff like gender studies. What it means if the voice in your head says that you're trigendered. Nobody needs to learn that. It's all made up bullshit. Half the psychology shit out there is bullshit. I would say at this point, 75% of what they teach is bullshit. And you know what would happen if students weren't attending there anymore? All of that overexpansion would shrink back into a more efficient model like it should be. College should be for practical shit, not gender studies, not bullshit arts, not theater majors, all of this. What do you go to school? What do you go to college and do after you become a theater major? You go protest and work for George Soros. If you can't do that, you go nowhere in life. You wind up working as a waiter or waitress at a gay bar. Okay? And that's the problem. So I agree with that. Wow, you say that while living in your car. I do. I'm ballsy. I'm ballsy like that. I'm ballsy like that. There would be less anxiety meds sold. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, Corey Mary, completely agree. Bro, your lunch break is over. Go clock back in. Lunch at this hour. What the fuck is wrong with you? He is saying he doesn't believe in higher education. Tracy. Well, Tracy, what have you done with your higher education? Has it helped you find a husband yet, or are you still a single, miserable bitch? You're so brainwashed, it's really sad, man. I think you may be in the closet with all the anti-gay hate. That's what that means, Miguel. That's what that means, by the way. By the way, who said I'm hating on gays? I never said that. But that is what that means. If you hate on gays, it means you're gay. 100% of the time, that's what that means. Absolutely. But who said I'm hating on gays? I never said that. What do you like on pizza? I don't like typical pizza. I like a nice white pizza. I like a good garlic Parmesan sauce base with some grilled chicken, some diced onions, some spinach, and sometimes diced Roma tomatoes. Add the tomatoes back on it sometimes, but just not in the form of the sauce. I don't really like tomato sauce that much. This guy is a stunning example. Is why Trump said he loves the poorly educated. Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's one of the out of context quotes taken by Trump. MAGA at its best, says Tracy. I noticed you couldn't really answer me on your question about your husband, though, could you? Tracy, I got some advice for you. Start folding a man's clothes after he gets home from work. Stop bitching about him for not doing his chores. You'll wind up keeping a man around a lot longer, okay? Learn how to shut the fuck up once in a while, okay? That's my advice to you. Okay? Miseducated over there. Keystone Liberty, did you see the recent pictures that went public of Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Jackson? Was it the ones that were doctored though, where they redacted his what turned out to be Michael Jackson's kids? Because that was just kind of like almost done suspiciously. I'll take a look at it though, Keystone. I am gonna do another stream about Epstein, but there's so much shit going on right now that's AI. There's so much out of context stuff. There's so many anonymous tips that are included in there. Like the whole bowel thing. People are genuinely convinced that Epstein banked with a bank that was called Bowel Bank. And it's like that's not correct. It was a printing error. Like that's just one example. There's AI out there that's been proven to be AI. So I'm kind of waiting for the dust to settle a little bit before I do another stream on Jeffrey Epstein. I already covered the tangent provable stuff like his emails, and how he was, associated. He had an audience with Vladimir Putin. He had ties with the former Israeli prime minister. He was talking about Mossad a lot, used the term goy a lot, which I find interesting. He was associated with Bill Gates a lot, et cetera, et cetera. I've already covered all of that. I've discussed in large already, of course, the ties with President Trump and how it's very obvious at this point, according to everything official, that Trump's not implicated in this, and he's only implicated from anonymous tips and bullshit that's been added into the Epstein files after the fact, or like outside of the Epstein stuff. Everything we know about Epstein points to the fact that he had major TDS, actually, like every other liberal. So I've discussed all of that. What I'm really waiting for is for the dust to settle now, because there's a lot of bull out there. AI is ruining it. This is gonna be a big problem going forward. AI. So yes, he is involved. Yeah, I know. There. I know. Trump. Yep, his name's in there. Trump's name's in there. Good little liberal man. He's involved. Yep. Yeah. He's not bad looking, but he clearly lives in a trailer. What? He's not bad looking, but he clearly lives in a trailer, and Florida, anyone? Betcha. Working people in general are better than him. I would never work. That's for peasants. Peasants hold jobs, Tracy. Peasants. I don't know, Tracy, I don't know what kind of man you're into, but for the love of God, I mean, honestly, peasants work regular jobs. Seriously. Where's my sandwich? AI and sports betting, ruining everything. Yeah, maybe. The betting stuff's weird. The betting stuff is weird. 2009 lifeguard. The Kalshi stuff and all the open promotions of it. It is interesting. But betting markets are interestingly accurate a lot of times. So I value them for that, at least. Lots of personal attacks from these dipshits. It's always what they fall back on. The guy who comments sometimes. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And it's true. Yeah, absolutely. I genuinely find most of the comments funny most of the time. The only comments I don't like are the ones that incite violence. And I'll be honest with you, actually, to be fair, those are pretty rare. I've had this channel since March of last year, and I'm monetized on it. I get paid now on it and everything, and it's going very well. And there's been a handful of times I've had to delete, incite violent comments to incite violence, but some from Republicans too. They're not off the hook. More from Democrats though, by far. But not as often as I would have thought. So, and all the rest where it's like they just, if they're making fun of something, the car or whatever, a lot of those are funny. Like I've seen comments where they're like, "My God, his windows are fogging up," blah blah blah. Like it's funny stuff to me. I genuinely like it. You're not a gentleman at all, says Crystal Knight Gaming. Oh no, I'm not a gentleman. That's terrible of me. God, Crystal Knight Gaming, maybe you should show Tracy what a real gentleman is. I bet you she'll reward you for that. You should message Tracy later. I guarantee you she'll reward you for that. Show her what a true gentleman is, Crystal Knight Gaming. It's crazy they don't understand that every time they comment, they help you get paid. Shh. Don't go saying that out loud. The car looks pretty clean. Hey, that's because I'm a man. That's because I'm a man. When I get home, I throw my clothes anywhere, right? That's a woman's job to pick up the clothes and do the laundry. But in my car, spick and span clean. It's a car, okay? And it's got to be clean. I live in this shit. I live in it. I got to keep it clean. Tracy, we can be friends. Tracy, we can be friends. I'm married. Look at this player. Look at this player over here, being all up front with his intent. If you were homeless, the ceiling, yeah. Or maybe he is, and that's the problem, says Walter Davis. Crystal ain't a gentleman, or maybe he is, and that's the problem. Yeah, I gotcha. How do you keep a woman? Give the people some advice. It's easy. You keep a woman by making a lot of money, doing well in life, being ambitious, and not prioritizing her. You literally just tell her, listen, bitch, I'm here, I'm doing well, I'm going places, I've got businesses, I'm moving up in the world, I'm ambitious, this is what I'm going for. You're going to be helpful to me and useful to me on that journey. You're going to do stuff like wash my laundry. You're going to do stuff like cook for me. You're going to make sure all of my ducks are lined up in a row domestically so that I don't ever have to focus on that. You're going to fulfill your most beneficial role, which is, of course, doing all of the domestic stuff and eventually helping me reproduce to spread my successful genes out into the world. All along the way, I'll provide you the lifestyle you want. That's how you keep a woman. You don't actually say that, by the way, but everything you do gives off the impression. So... And then at that point, by the way, the best thing you can do for a woman is tell them to shut up, put them in their place often, never let them get away with anything, and secretly despise them. So you must be married or have a girlfriend or something, right? I'm definitely not married. No, it's communicate. No, it's communication. And don't be an ass. That's absolutely correct, Crystal Knight. Good job. I got to get some shut-eye, but as MacArthur said, are you talking John MacArthur, 2009 lifeguard? Because if so, I fuck with a little John MacArthur. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up, though, okay? I'm not going to keep the stream going on here. I already discussed everything I wanted to when it came to election integrity, the SAVE Act, and the government shutdown. If you missed it and you want to see it, you can go back and rewatch the stream later. If you left a chat down here, Douglas MacArthur, good one, 2009 lifeguard, like him as well. Anyways, if you left a chat down there and you're terribly disappointed that I ignored it, like your father ignored you your entire life, and you're going to complain to both your mothers that the big, bad, evil streamer on American Advocates wouldn't respond to your chat, then you can leave it as a comment after the fact on the video when this publishes as such. And if it's worth my time and worth a response, I will respond to it. But I do not cast my pearls to swine, and a lot of you down there are absolutely swine. So most of you will continue to be ignored overall, and you'll just have to come to accept that if you're going to continue watching me as an idiotic liberal, or in some cases, sometimes even a MAGA viewer, because I'm not MAGA and I do criticize Trump. Nevertheless, this channel is for red-blooded American patriots who love this country. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to American Advocates for more content like this. Turn on post notifications, leave a like on the stream, and stay tuned because I'll be going live once again tomorrow night to discover whatever topics are trending then. And as always, glory to America and God bless the USA. God bless you as well.